rare white alligator is born at a Florida theme park.
Gatorland keepers say that the amphibious reptile developed the rarest genetic variation. More details on this later in the news. Good evening, I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. Chinese Coast Guard ships douse Philippine vessels for a fourth time. The Senate of the Philippines greenlights the 2024 national budget. U.S. President Joe Biden welcomes Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky to the White House. Tennessee mops up after a deadly tornado lashes the region. And some of the biggest names in Asian entertainment are bound for the Philippines. The Chinese Coast Guard targeted Philippine vessels with water cannon blasts, and one vessel was even rammed, causing damage and endangering Filipino crew members near the Second Thomas Shoal in the West Philippine Sea. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. stated that China's aggressive actions only strengthen the country's resolve to defend and protect its jurisdiction in the contested sea. He reiterated that the Second Thomas Shoal falls within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, and any foreign claim of sovereignty over it is baseless and contrary to international law. The Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief of Staff General Romeo Bronner Jr. and Western Command Chief Vice Admiral Alberto Carlos visited the PRP Sierra Madre in the disputed shoal. They were on board during the Chinese Coast Guard's harassment of Philippine boats. The United States condemned Beijing for interfering in the Philippines' maritime operations, undermining regional stability, and called on China to halt its dangerous and destabilizing conduct. They further urged China to comply with the arbitral ruling that specifies the Philippines' jurisdiction over the West Philippine Sea.
A big-time oil price rollback is set to take effect tomorrow. Oil industry sources project that gasoline prices will drop by 1 peso and 60 centavos per liter. Kerosene price is cut by 1 peso 40 centavos per liter. Meanwhile, diesel price is lowered by 1 peso and 85 centavos per liter. According to the Department of Energy, the rollback is due to the geopolitical issues affecting the world market.
The Manila Electric Company, or Meralco, announced reduced electricity charges to 80 centavos per kilowatt hour this month. Electric Supply Company disclosed that customers who consume 200 kilowatt hours will have a reduced charge of 159 pesos, while customers with 300 kilowatt hours of consumption will be charged 239 pesos less, 13 or 318 pesos, and 398 pesos less for consumers reaching 400 and 500 kilowatt hours respectively. The electricity charge cuts are a subsequent reduction in the price supplied received by Meralco in the spot market.
Two farmer groups project that the upward trend in rice prices will persist until March of the next year, even with the ongoing harvest season. The Federation of Free Farmers, or FFF, and the Philippine Rice Industry Stakeholders Movement emphasized that the harvest may not necessarily lead to lower rice prices, citing uncertainties related to weather conditions and the potential threat of El Nino. The price of unhusked rice has also risen to 30 pesos per kilogram, contributing to the increase in retail rice prices, which now hover around 60 pesos per kilogram. PRISM co-founder Orly Manuntag suggests that the effects of El Nino alone could result in a 1 to 2 peso increase in the prices of imported rice, depending on international market movements. Presently, according to the Department of Agriculture, well-milled local rice is priced between 45 and 57 pesos, while imported rice is at 52 pesos. To curb further rice price increases, the National Food Authority is advocating for rice importation to ensure an ample supply in the market.
The Piston Group is planning to initiate another two-day nationwide transport strike from the 14th to the 15th of December. Piston President Modi Floranda declared that they will persist in protest actions until the government abandons the modernization program and the looming consolidation deadline on the 31st of December. Floranda appeals to the government to carefully assess the potential impact of phasing out traditional jeepneys, not only on drivers and operators, but also on the economy and the general public. He warns that their protests might extend further, emphasizing the importance of the government attentively addressing their concerns.
The Senate has greenlit and ratified the 5.768 trillion peso national budget for the upcoming year, as outlined in the bicameral conference committee report. The report successfully reconciled differences between the State and House of Representatives 2024 budget versions. Senate Minority Leader Coco Pimentel was the sole dissenting vote during the plenary ratification, expressing reservations about the budgeting system. His concerns included a 12.5 billion peso increase for the House and a 450 billion peso hike for unprogrammed appropriations. The finalized 2024 budget excluded confidential and intelligence funds for civilian agencies. Senator Sonny Angara clarified that the reallocation of these funds was directed towards security agencies. Amid escalating tensions with China, Angara said that the Philippine Coast Guard received an additional 2 billion pesos and that the Department of Information and Communications Technology also saw an increase in intelligence funds.
The Philippines has filed another diplomatic protest against China in relation to Beijing's separate aggressions on Scarborough and Ayungin Shoal in the West Philippine Sea. Foreign Affairs spokesperson Teresita Daza said the government has also called on Chinese Ambassador Wang Shilian to report the damage done by the Chinese ships to a Philippine barrier. Daza disclosed that the Department of Foreign Affairs continues to take all diplomatic actions that can be used to protect and promote the legal maritime rights of the country in the disputed territory. TFA also raised a diplomatic protest to the Chinese Foreign Ministry through a phone call. This marked the fourth time a Chinese ship bombarded a Philippine ship with a water cannon. The water cannon incident happened in part of the Ayungin Shoal and Bajo de Masinloc, which is a part of the West Philippine Sea also claimed by China. Philippine Coast Guard spokesman for West Philippine Sea Commodore J. Agila said that China has deployed 48 ships to block the country's vessels.
The Department of Migrant Workers said that 27 Filipinos that were repatriated from Israel will receive assistance from the agency. 25 of which were caregivers, while the rest worked for the hotel and hospitality industries. This marks the 11th batch of overseas Filipino workers that have arrived in Manila as a result of the Israel-Gaza war. Meanwhile, the 25 seafarers who were on board a ship hit by a Russian missile last month while entering the Black Sea port in the Odessa region have arrived in the country. According to DMW, 8 of the seafarers arrived in the country last Friday. The first batch of seafarers returned on November 25, followed by 14 more OFWs on December 2. The Liberia-flagged vessel K-Max Ruler was scheduled to deliver iron ore to China when it was hit by a missile on November 8. One crew was killed in the incident and 4 Pinoys were injured. Coming up, Joe Biden invites Ukrainian President Zelensky to the White House to break up the funding deadlock. Argentina's Javier Milei tells nations to brace for an economic shock during his proclamation speech. And Israel orders residents out of Khan Yunis as they prepare to take southern Gaza. Stay tuned. Matanang Agila International will return for more global news.
sinusubaybayan nating mga kwentuhan kasama si Miss Corina Sanchez, nominado sa isang prestihiyosong parangal. Congratulations, Corina Interviews! Nominated as Best Talk Show Asian Television Awards. Ang hatid ninyong mga diskusyon at usapan ay patuloy na nagbibigay tuwa at inspirasyon sa bawat Pilipino. You make us proud, Connect 25.
Ako po ang inyong katuwang tungkol sa usaping ito.
Nasa puso dapat ng Pilipino to love what is Filipino.
Kaya dapat ihayag ng saloobin.
Kahit gaano kasi karami yung doktor natin, ay kung may bayad din, baliwala din.
Paano makakabili ang Pilipino ng bigas?
Himayin ang hinaing.
Gaano karaming pera bang kailangan mo para maging masaya ka?
Alamin ang pwedeng gawin.
So I think the lesson is, pag may fake news, i-correct ka agad ng people concerned.
Sagutin mo agad. Mag-reality check tayo.
Check yun.
Check.
Check na check.
Double check.
Check the check tayo dyan.
Welcome back to Mata ng Agila International. The University of Nevada in Las Vegas cancels finals as a shooting upends the rest of their semester and their campus grapples with traumatic stress. Anna Cui from Las Vegas Bureau has the latest.
UNLV campus has been closed since the shooting Wednesday afternoon and will remain so for the rest of the semester. The gunman has been identified as 67-year-old Anthony Polito, according to Sheriff Kevin McMahill with the Las Vegas Metro Police. Motive is yet to be confirmed. Polito applied at several Nevada system of higher education institutions, including UNLV, before his attack. Ongoing investigation by Metro Police added that Polito had a list of targets at UNLV, as well as faculty from East Carolina University, where he once worked. He died in a confrontation with police, but 9 loaded magazines were found on his person. The names of the victims have been released as Patricia Navarro Velez and Cha Jan, or otherwise known as Jerry Chang. They were both professors of the business school. The third victim who also died was Naoko Takemaru, an associate professor of world languages and cultures. The fourth victim, who was injured, has not been identified and remains hospitalized. There have now been over 630 mass shootings in the U.S. this year, 38 of which involved 4 or more deaths, according to the Gun Violence Archive. UNLV student Milan Gledhill shares his thoughts.
I was born in 2000. Didn't Columbine happen in 99? Like, my entire lifetime has been filled with school shootings, and we're not doing anything about it. I'm not an expert on gun laws here in Nevada. I know that we have better laws than other states, but if things like this can still happen, they're not good enough. I really hope that something happens. We should go into a special legislative session and take care of this. And I hope our governor will be open to it.
Since the Las Vegas shooting in 2017, though attempts were made by lawmakers, there have not been any new approved gun laws in Nevada. The Las Vegas community once again comes together in light of this more recent tragedy. In Las Vegas, Anna Cui reporting from Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Papua New Guinea Prime Minister James Marape says he will not be reckless with foreign loans from China. Papua New Guinea is one of the first Pacific nations to join China's Belt and Road program. Some political analysts and economists accuse Beijing of using the Belt and Road funding for debt trap diplomacy, asserting that developing nations under the project will eventually struggle to pay back its hefty loans to China. The Pacific Kingdom of Tonga currently owes China's export bank around $130 million, or almost a third of its gross domestic product. Chinese companies are also pouring money into Papua New Guinea for schools, highways, and real estate developments. But Marape avers that under his watch, Papua New Guinea would not consider foreign funding for major projects unless it offered soft loans with low interest rates.
If road and belt initiatives and initiated projects tick off our own treasury requirements, then by all means fair consideration will be given, especially on the soft concession lending aspect. And we're not reckless. We're investing in infrastructures especially that has a return on investment and not just investing in social programs or other programs that has no return.
China and the United States have been vying for influence in the South Pacific state, which sits atop bulging deposits of gas and minerals and peers over key shipping lanes. Marape also believes world leaders are conscious of the effects of nations' contests and stiffness, saying that the Asia-Pacific region will carry the economy of the world for the next 50 to 100 years.
But we don't go into the political dogma space. We respect each other's sovereignty. And I see USA and China, whilst they have their own different worldviews, but in the economy and the interest of economic advancement, they'll always find a common ground somewhere. And Papua New Guinea plays its own role. We relate to all these economies.
Meanwhile, a district election in Hong Kong with the exclusion of opposition Democrats witnessed a record low voter turnout of 27.5%. The election, held amid a national security crackdown and electoral system overhaul, barred many candidates associated with the Democratic camp. The significant decline in turnout compared to the last such election in 2019 reflects the impact of Beijing's sweeping national security law and electoral changes that aim to exclude the Democrats. The election featured a reduction of nearly 80% in directly elected seats, along with requirements for candidates to undergo national security background checks and secure nominations from pro-government committees. Some pro-democracy and non-pro-establishment groups, including moderates, failed to meet these thresholds. While Western governments criticize Hong Kong's authoritarian turn under the national security law, China asserts that it has brought stability to the financial hub after prolonged pro-democracy protests in 2019.
The Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, leaders met for a summit on Sunday and demanded a short period of transition before they would ease sanctions on Niger. The West African leaders also officially recognized Niger's military junta, adding that all parties should work for the speedy restoration of order in the country. Experts say the recognition of the junta appears to diminish the chances that Niger's President Mohamed Bazoum may be reinstated.
The authority decides to set up a committee of heads of state made up of the president and head of state of the Republic of Togo, the President and the Head of State of the Republic of Sierra Leone, the President and Head of State of the Republic of Benin, to engage with CNSP and other stakeholders with a view to agreeing on a short transition roadmap, establishing transition organs, as well as facilitating the setting up of a transition monitoring and evaluation mechanism towards the speedy restoration of constitutional order.
Omar Aliou Touré, president of the ECOWAS Commission, promised that they would progressively ease the sanctions imposed on Niger. He also warned that any failure on the part of Niger's CNSP will result to ECOWAS enforcement of economic sanctions.
Failure by the CNSP to comply with the outcomes of the engagement with the committee, ECOWAS shall maintain all sanctions, including the use of force, and will request African Union and all other partners to enforce the targeted sanctions on members of the CNSP and their associates.
Touré and other ECOWAS leaders also requested Bazoum's immediate and unconditional release.
Consequently, the authority calls on the CNSP to release President Mohamed Bazoum, his family and associates immediately and without condition.
United States President Joe Biden has invited Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky to a meeting at the White House on Tuesday. The White House said the two leaders will discuss the urgent needs facing Ukraine as well as updates on Kyiv's ongoing winter offensive against Russia. Experts say Biden will reaffirm the vital importance of Washington's continued support for Kyiv. Sources say Zelensky will also address the U.S. senators on Tuesday. The office of the House of Representatives Speaker also confirmed that Zelensky and Senator Mike Johnson will have a private meeting.
Former United States President Donald Trump says that he no longer plans to testify in his $250 million civil fraud trial in New York on Monday. He believes he very successfully and conclusively testified last month, asserting that there is no need to do so again. Trump's decision came days after his son, Eric Trump, did not appear on the witness stand. The former president has admitted on Truth Social that he advised Eric to cancel his court appearance. Meanwhile, defense lawyer Christopher Kise has explained that Trump's prior testimony and that of other witnesses made their case. Kise also slammed New York Attorney General Letitia James' statement and described it as a rabid and unreasonable pursuit of Trump. But James argued that they have proven that Trump committed years of financial fraud and unjustly enriched himself and his family. Trump's civil fraud trial has gone on for more than 2 months, and legal experts say the case has now entered its final week of testimony.
There is growing pressure on Tory members of parliament or MPs to support British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's plan to send migrants to Rwanda for processing and potential resettlement. Sunak aims to deter people from crossing the English Channel in small boats through this initiative. Emergency legislation has been introduced to address legal issues that have delayed the scheme. However, MPs from various parties, including within the Tory party, have expressed concerns about the approach. The proposed legislation, known as the Safety of Rwanda Bill, is being examined over the weekend. To secure support for the bill, government ministers are reaching out to MPs to get their support and trying to address their concerns.
Argentina's new president has been sworn into office. After taking his oath of office Sunday, Javier Milei warned drastic cuts are coming. Kimi Oria has the details.
The 53-year-old libertarian told a crowd of thousands of his supporters to brace themselves for painful austerity measures. Javier Milei says there is no money left in the country's treasury, adding he will put an end to what he calls decades of decadence by his overspending predecessors. Latin America's third biggest economy is on its knees after decades of debt and financial mismanagement. The annual inflation rate stands at 140%. 40% of the population lives in poverty. Milei will swear in a cabinet of 9 ministers, down from the current 18. He says he will present his first set of measures to Congress in a matter of days. Milei warns it could take up to 2 years to bring inflation under control. Kimi Oria from Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had a tense conversation with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban on the sidelines of Argentine President Javier Milei's inauguration. But speculation circling the Ukrainian politician took to Telegram, posting on his nightly address that their conversation was as frank as possible regarding their European affairs. The meeting took place against a backdrop of Orban's threatening to block more European Union financial support to Kyiv, his opposition of Ukraine's entry to the bloc, and the White House intensifying its push for Kyiv aid after Republicans blocked an emergency spending bill to fund the war. Orban's press chief Bertala Navasi confirmed the meeting in an email that did not address whether the Hungarian leader would continue to oppose Ukraine's entry to the European Union. Orban has repeatedly said he opposes starting talks now. Any decision to proceed has to be unanimous. Orban has also threatened to block moves to give Kyiv 50 billion euros or $53.80 billion in budget support through 2027, though a senior official said that the EU would find ways to support Ukraine financially, even if Hungary vetoed the move. Zelensky said earlier he had spoken by telephone with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen to coordinate their position.
The United Nations human rights chief deplores what he says are persistent and systematic attempts to botch the results of Guatemala's elections. He calls for the will of voters to be upheld. Percy Parlade has the details.
Guatemalan anti-graft candidate Bernardo Arevalo faces an onslaught of legal challenges since his surprise second-round election victory in August. Challenges include attempts to suspend his Semilla party and stop him from taking power. Arevalo is slated to assume office on January 14. Prosecutor Leonor Morales claims that investigations reveal that the election of Arevalo, his vice president, and parliamentarians was null and void. This, Morales says, is due to counting anomalies in the first round in June. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk voices alarms about what he describes as persistent and systematic attempts by the Attorney General's office in Guatemala to undercut the general election results. This, he adds, is in full disregard of the voters' will. Turk says Friday's announcements aimed at nullifying the outcome of the elections and questioning the constitution and existence of the Movimiento Semilla party are extremely disturbing. Turk urges the Guatemalan authorities to preserve and respect all human rights, including freedom of expression and freedom of peaceful assembly at all times. Percival Parlade for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Israeli tanks have battled their way to the heart of Khan Yunis in a major new push into the main city of the southern Gaza Strip, as health authorities in Hamas-run Gaza said about 18,000 Palestinians had been killed in the war. Israeli leaders said dozens of Hamas fighters had surrendered, encouraging more of them to do so, but the Palestinian militant group has vehemently denied these claims.
בימים האחרונים עשרות מחבלי חמאס נכנעים בפני כוחותינו. הם מניחים את נשקם, הם מוסרים את עצמם לידי לוחמינו הגיבורים. זה ייקח עוד זמן, המלחמה בעיצומה, אבל זה תחילת הסוף של חמאס. ואני אומר למחבלי חמאס, זה נגמר. אל תמותו בשביל סינואר. תיכנו עכשיו.
Residents of Khan Yunis said tanks had reached the main north-south road through the city after intense combat through the night that had slowed the Israeli advance from the east. Warplanes were pounding the area west of the assault. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who has unsuccessfully pushed for a ceasefire in Gaza, said the enclave was in collapse. Also stating, and I quote, "I expect public order to completely break down soon and an even worse situation could unfold, including epidemic diseases and increased pressure for mass displacement into Egypt." Israel has vowed to eradicate Hamas, which has ruled Gaza since 2007 after militants burst across the fence on October 7 and went on a rampage through Israeli towns, gunning down families in their homes, killing 1,200 people and seizing 240 hostages. Since then, about 18,000 Palestinians have been killed and another 49,500 people injured in Israeli strikes, with thousands more missing and presumed dead under rubble. The current toll does not include figures from northern parts of Gaza due to the inability of ambulances and hospitals to report back to the southern part of the enclave due to being trapped in by Israel.
Israel says that they are prepared to act against efforts by Houthi rebels in Yemen to disrupt shipping in the Red Sea if the international community fails to do so. This statement comes as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had spoken with U.S. President Joe Biden as well as European leaders about Houthis targeting merchant ships with alleged Israeli links. The Iran-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen are a Shia political and military organization that has been fighting a civil war against the Saudi Arabia-backed coalition since 2014. There has been an uptick in their maritime activities since Hamas' attack on Israel on October 7, and the group has said any ship heading to Israel was a legitimate target.
إن القوات المسلحة لن تتردد في استهداف أي سفينة إسرائيلية في البحر الأحمر أو أي مكان تطاله أيدينا ابتداء من لحظة إعلان هذا البيان. إن عمليات القوات المسلحة اليمنية ضد العدو الإسرائيلي لن تتوقف حتى يتوقف العدوان الإسرائيلي على إخواننا في غزة الباسلة.
Bloomberg has released its annual list of the world's richest families. The firm disclosed that this year's ranking was reshaped by oil fortunes. Ratings show that the House of Nahyan, the family of Emirati President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, emerged as the richest dynasty in the world. Nahyan's fortune was estimated at $305 billion. The second richest which emerged is the U.S.-based Walton family with an estimated wealth of $259.7 billion. Walton family owns the world's largest retailer by revenue, Walmart. Meanwhile, the third richest is the French Hermes dynasty with estimated wealth of $150.9 billion.
TikTok has hit a joint venture deal with Goto that would allow the social media app to restart its online shopping business in Indonesia. The tech giant says it will invest over $1.5 billion in Tokopedia, Indonesia's biggest e-commerce platform. Under the deal, TikTok will buy just over 75% of Tokopedia and add TikTok Shop's Indonesia business with it. TikTok and Tokopedia said their strategic partnership will commence with a pilot period carried out in close consultation with and supervision by the relevant regulators.
The World Gold Council, or WGC, said central banks have continued their gold buying spree. Net monthly sales of the gold metal reached 42 tons in October. The figure was 41% lower than September's revised total of 72 tons, but WGC said it is still 23% above the January to September monthly average of 34 tons. China was a standout buyer with a purchase of 23 tons of gold. WGC said this brings China's net purchases to 204 tons during 2023, with its overall reserves amounting to 2,215 tons. The Central Bank of Turkey also purchased 19 tons to increase its official gold reserves to 498 tons. The WGC also revealed that Poland added 6 tons to its gold stockpile. Its holdings of the yellow metal have now risen by over 100 tons this year to 340 tons in total. The Reserve Bank of India, the Czech National Bank, the National Bank of the Kyrgyz Republic, and the Qatar Central Bank were the other significant gold buyers in October. Economists say central banks' gold purchases are symbolic of their departure from the U.S. dollar. Though the greenback remains a dominant currency, its percentage of reserves, according to some studies, has now declined to less than 60%. Up next, severe storms and tornadoes ravage the state of Tennessee. Sydney bakes in extreme temperatures and heat wave conditions. And the European Union reaches an agreement on landmark legislation to regulate AI. Mata ng Agila International will be back after a short break.
Mga mata sa mahalagang balita at impormasyon araw-araw. Ngayon ay nominado sa isang prestihiyosong parangal. Congratulations! Mata ng Agila! Nominated as Best News Program, Asian Television Awards. Ang inyong matatag, matapang at matapat na paghahatid ng katotohanan sa bayan ay tunay ngang di matatawaran. You make us proud, Cadet 25.
Ang Best Public Affairs Program. And the star goes to Open for Business Net 25.
It is a signal to the world that we are open for business.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos every Sunday, 9 p.m.
In West Virginia, the girlfriend of popular YouTuber Hunter Avalon, Holly Penno, was shot in the leg by her abusive ex-boyfriend. Avalon, known for engaging in online debates with conservatives, was at his Martinsburg apartment with Penno when the incident occurred. Penno's ex-boyfriend of 11 years showed up unexpectedly and fired shots through the door, hitting Penno in the leg. Avalon began filming shortly after the shooting, mentioning in the footage that his landlord had previously warned him about a suspicious individual on the property with a concealed weapon. He appeared to have contacted the police, as officers can be seen responding to the scene. A fundraiser has been set up by a fellow Twitch streamer to cover Penno's hospital bills.
Deadly tornadoes swept across the southeastern American state of Tennessee on the weekend, killing at least 6 people. The twisters touched down late Saturday, damaging homes and causing blackouts. Rosel Feria reports.
One of the hardest hit regions is the city of Clarksville, where 3 people, including a child, died in the storm. The Tennessee twister flattened nearly 24 homes in the community. Residents spent Sunday sifting through what is left of their homes, trying to retrieve their belongings. Elsewhere, crews continued a search for survivors. Emergency officials say 13 tornadoes tore through the state Saturday night. Local media reports that 83 people had been taken to the hospital with injuries. 9 of them are in critical and unstable condition. Emergency shelters across the state are accommodating people who have lost their homes. Utility crews have been working around the clock to restore power to tens of thousands.
Officials in Chile have evacuated more than 300 people from their homes because of wildfires. The blazes have burned more than 400 hectares. Angel Membreri reports.
The fires are scorching the Chilean commune of Limanche, about 80 kilometers northeast of the capital of Santiago. About 20 homes have been affected. One report says 19 patients from a nursing home in the community also had to be evacuated. Limanche Mayor Daniel Morales says some 200 firefighters are battling the flames. Army personnel are also helping out. They have air support from 3 helicopters and a water bomber. Morales says it is a difficult area to access, adding that there is no running water. Officials fear the fires may spread because of dry conditions and high temperatures. Angel Membreri for Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
A heat wave scorched Australia's eastern coast. The heat sent temperatures in Sydney to a 3-year high over the weekend. This as firefighters battled runaway bushfires. Emi Kapili-Taroha reports.
This weekend, Sydneysiders sought relief at beaches or in the shade. Authorities warned the most vulnerable to shelter in cool buildings. These include the elderly and the very young. Temperatures reached 40 degrees Celsius in the afternoon. This is the hottest since November 2020. On Sydney's far western fringes, the heat was up to 43.8 degrees Celsius. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says, with the high heat levels, it is a time to ensure that Australians look after each other and stay safe. Albanese warns that climate change is a threat to people's health and the environment. He says it is time to acknowledge that there is a need for a comprehensive response. Meanwhile, more than 70 bush and grass fires burned across New South Wales. Over a dozen were out of control in the late afternoon. In Brisbane, Australia, Emi Kapili-Taroha for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
A plague of locusts has invaded southeastern Mexico. The infestation has affected the state of Yucatan. Arlene Ocampo has more.
The sky in parts of Yucatan is filled with clouds of insects looking for vegetation to devour. Running out of growth to eat in the countryside, the locusts are invading urban areas. There they are eating anything that is green: trees, bushes, flowers. Agriculture officials say so far no economically valuable crops have been affected. Workers are taking action to contain the outbreak. They are fumigating fields in an effort to control the pests and keep them from spreading. Experts say locusts tend to attack areas of vegetation during droughts. Arlene Ocampo from Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Australia announced on Monday it would tighten visa rules for international students and low-skilled workers that could have its migrant intake over the next 2 years. The government said the decision aims to repair a broken migration system. The decision also comes after net immigration was expected to have peaked at a record 510,000 in 2022 to 2023. Under the new policies, international students would need to secure higher ratings on English tests. Authorities will apply more scrutiny on a student's second visa application that would prolong their stay. Home Affairs Minister Claire O'Neill said this strategy will bring migration numbers back to normal.
Several hundred Rohingya refugees in 2 boats landed at Indonesia's northmost province, Aceh, on Sunday. Local governments at the 2 locations where the refugees arrived left them stranded on the beach, refusing to provide them with basic needs. Later on Sunday, one group of 135 Rohingya refugees had been relocated from the beach to a campground. They had been at sea for a month and a half and their boat had begun to sink. Mostly women and children were aboard that vessel. The second group of refugees remains without shelter. The Indonesian government says designated shelters are overcrowded, adding it will try to find a place for the refugees. Last week, Indonesian President Joko Widodo accused the human trafficking network of being behind the rising number of Rohingya seeking asylum in his country. He has vowed to take strict action against the perpetrators. Indonesia is not a signatory to the UN Refugee Convention and says it is not obligated to take in refugees from Myanmar. But neighboring countries have also shut their doors, leaving the Rohingya with few other options.
The World Health Organization says a third of women worldwide experience long-term health problems after giving birth. Here's Myla Simbulan for the report.
A new study published this week reveals that at least 40 million women are likely to face lasting health issues caused by childbirth. Part of a special series on maternal health, the study shows a high burden of postnatal conditions that persist in the months or even years after giving birth. These conditions include pain during sexual intercourse, low back pain, anal incontinence, urinary incontinence, anxiety, depression, perineal pain, fear of childbirth, and secondary infertility. The authors of the study call for greater recognition within the healthcare system of these common problems. Many of these problems occur beyond the point where women typically have access to postnatal services. The authors argue that effective care throughout pregnancy and childbirth is also a critical preventive factor to detect risk and avert complications that can lead to lasting health issues after birth. For more information about the study, visit WHO.com. In Swarthmore, Pennsylvania, Myla Simbulan for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The head of the World Health Organization describes the health situation in Gaza as catastrophic. Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus says it's nearly impossible to improve things. Thomas I. Likeness reports.
How bad is it? Tedros sums it up with just 9 words.
Gaza's health system is on its knees and collapsing.
Tedros says only 14 of Gaza's original 36 hospitals are even partially functioning. 2 of them are in the north, the other 12 in the south. Here you see workers and residents cleaning up a Gaza City hospital that had been targeted by the Israeli military. Hospitals that are still operating are overcrowded. But it's not only a lack of facilities to meet the demand that is affecting the region's health. As Israeli strikes on Gaza push more and more people into a smaller area, Tedros says there will be a further decline in health.
Overcrowding, combined with the lack of adequate food, water, shelter, and sanitation, are creating the ideal conditions for disease to spread.
Healthcare workers are trying to do what they can with the few resources remaining. Tedros says health needs have increased dramatically, but the capacity of the health system is 1/3 of what it once was. He says doctors and others trying to treat the wounded and sick find themselves in the line of fire.
Since the 7th of October, WHO has verified more than 449 attacks on healthcare in Gaza.
And for civilians, routine medical treatment is almost impossible to get. Most of the scarce resources go to treating the tens of thousands of people who have been wounded in the war. And even they cannot be treated properly by the system which itself is on life support. Thomas I. Likeness from Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
European Union member states and lawmakers have secured a deal on how to draft rules regulating artificial intelligence models like ChatGPT. This is after 36 hours of negotiation in Brussels. Dubbed the AI Act, negotiators presented rules on how AI can be used in Europe, claiming that it would not hurt innovation in the sector. Initially, the measure was described as rushed through the European Union's legislative process after the OpenAI's chatbot emerged. The European Commission primarily proposed a law in 2021 to regulate AI systems. EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen has welcomed the new measure, describing it as global first. The EU, however, is not alone in its worries over AI. Last October, United States President Joe Biden issued an executive order on AI safety standards. Chinese legislation, on the other hand, passed its regulation on generative AI in August. U.S. chip maker NVIDIA announced plans to expand its partnership with Vietnam's top tech firms. The deal could potentially set up a base to attract local talents in the artificial intelligence industry. CEO Jensen Huang said NVIDIA is already investing $250 million in Vietnam. But the business expansion, Huang said, will also support Vietnam's digital infrastructure in automotive and healthcare industries. Vietnam added that NVIDIA has plans to set up a center in the country to develop a semiconductor ecosystem.
China has launched a Long March 2D carrier rocket to orbit. The placement of another remote sensing satellite in space plays a crucial role in collecting information about Earth's surface and atmosphere. This data is used to monitor weather conditions and management of natural resources. Chinese state media said the recent launch was the 500th flight mission of the Long March series rockets. Coming right up, a rare white alligator has been born in a Florida wildlife reserve. Anthony Davis carries the Lakers to be the inaugural NBA in-season tournament champions. And the Philippine Arena's hosting of the South Korean-based Asia Artist Awards marks a major milestone for Pinoy K-pop fans. Catch more news in sports and entertainment when we return.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Sa kanyang walang sawang paghahatid ng ngiti sa atin kada umaga, ang ating Kanet 25 na si Pia Guanyo Mago ay nominado sa isang prestihiyosong parangal. Congratulations, Miss Pia Guanyo Mago! Nominated as Best Talk Show Host, Asian Television Awards. Ang pagkilalang ito ay patunay lamang ng inyong sipag at dedikasyon sa pagpapasaya sa bawat Pilipino. You make us proud, Kanet 25.
A rare white alligator was born at Florida's Gatorland Park. The female amphibious reptile has a skin condition known as leucism, which causes its white pigmentation. This is, however, different from albinism as it does not affect its eyes. The baby was born to a colored mother and a leucistic father from a Louisiana swamp. Gatorland disclosed that leucistic alligators are the rarest genetic variation of the American alligators. The park, however, warned that leucism restricts the alligators from basking in direct sunlight for a long time as it makes them prone to sunburn. For now, the zoo wants the public's help in naming the tiny gator.
According to an announcement last week by the San Francisco biotech company Loyal, a drug that could potentially extend the life of large breed dogs is closer to being approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or FDA. The company claims the drug LOI-001 may help slow down age-related processes for dogs that are 40 pounds or more. The medication works by interacting with a hormone called IGF-1 that accelerates the aging process. It is designed to prevent age-related canine diseases rather than waiting until symptoms appear. More milestones must be met before the drug is fully approved and can hit the market, including the completion of a large clinical trial and a review of safety and manufacturing data. So far, a 4-year process has included intervention studies of LOI-001 in an FDA-accepted model of canine aging and an observational control study including 451 dogs. The average dog's lifespan is about 10 to 13 years, with larger breeds aging faster and having an even shorter life expectancy.
Anthony Davis dominates Indiana on all ends as the Lakers win the first in-season tournament in NBA history. Vin Pasqua has the score.
December 9, 2023 will go down in the history books as when the first in-season tournament champions were first crowned with the final score of 123 to 109. And it is now official, the Lakers are the 2023 champions of the very first in-season tournament. It ended with none other than the Los Angeles Lakers as the champions, despite LA competing in an unfamiliar playing territory in Las Vegas, knowing that this match would not count towards their regular season record and facing off against one of the premier young teams in the league, in the Indiana Pacers, they still came out on top. Both teams understood the assignment clearly starting in the first quarter. Play fast and give the sitting in the Las Vegas stands a show. For the Lakers, this meant pushing the pace in transition and attacking the offensive glass hard. On the flip side, Indiana wanted to get a couple of threes up off the jump. But in just the first 5 minutes of the game, the Pacers put up 5 threes and connected on 3 compared to LA's single missed attempt. Fortunately, Anthony Davis made his presence felt for the purple and gold quickly too, as he dropped 41 points, 20 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 steals in a Wilt Chamberlain-esque performance. Cam Reddish and Jared Vanderbilt got the infamous Tyrese Haliburton assignment early on and limited him to just 3 points in that first quarter. He did his best to get to his spots, but LA made sure to target and trap him the most possessions, and Haliburton had to defer to some deeper threes as a result. The entire play looked like a conditioning drill in practice and summed up the energy LA brought since tip-off, showing a dazzling display of beautiful basketball. Reporting for Sports, Vin Pascua for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The South Korea-based Asia Artist Awards, or AAAs, is set to be hosted in the Philippines, signaling significant recognition for Filipino K-pop fans. The event, to be held at the Philippine Arena, underscores the importance of the Filipino market for the Korean entertainment industry. Pulp Live world owner Vernon Go explained that his wife, Happy C. Go, a prominent K-pop promoter in Asia, played a crucial role in bringing the AAAs to the Philippines. The Korean partners recognized her influence and allowed the event to be hosted in the country. Considering potential traffic issues, Go has already discussed arrangements with private transportation groups to manage the flow during the award ceremony. The 8th edition of the AAAs will take place at the Philippine Arena in Bukawi, Bulacan on the 14th of December, featuring a 2-hour red carpet event followed by a 6-hour program. The star-studded event will include appearances by AKMU, Stray Kids, ITZY, New Jeans, and actors like Kim Seon-ho and Kim Se-jung.
It's Monday, and to start the week, here's a quote from Elbert Hubbard, an American writer, publisher, and philosopher. The best preparation for good work tomorrow is to do good work today.
What a fitting quote for Monday. We want to start off strong, so we have a great week for the rest of the week.
Definitely. But you do good every day, right?
Every day.
Not because you're planning on doing good tomorrow, but you just do it day after day after day.
And if you didn't have the best Monday, it's okay. There's always tomorrow.
There's always Tuesday and Wednesday.
And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Elago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point. Thank you for choosing Mata ng Agila International as your trusted news source, keeping you connected to the world and on point with stories from around the globe. Follow, like, and subscribe to @Net25 TV.